Mhm.
So let's move on to our next film, which is Blacklight. And I'm going to be talking about Blacklight. Blacklight is a film starring Liam Neeson, and you've seen this movie before. It's called Taken, Taken 2, Taken 3. No one's really taken in this movie, but Liam Neeson is basically this assassin / operative that works for the federal government, and he's told to ask no questions. Someone is murdered in a real shocking way in the very beginning, and it that sort of kicks off all the events in this film. If you've seen the trailer, you've seen the movie. The weird thing is when you compare this, so Liam Neeson's doing all these movies that are effectively just, different incarnations of Taken. Lots of tense action, lots of Liam Neeson. Now he's just sort of embraced the fact that he's a grandparent. In the movie, he has a granddaughter, so his granddaughter features prominently in the movie, and he gives her, like, this is weird, at a birthday party in the beginning, he gives her a taser for her birthday for no reason, and the mom is all like, "Oh, you." So it's so
That's
weird
awesome.
how, like, some of it is like played off to be like sort of comical, like, and he's all into like home security because he's afraid his family's gonna get murdered or taken, right? So we've seen this movie before. The weird thing is, I actually like this movie, meaning I like all these Liam Neeson movies, no matter how like weird they are. It's like, oh, okay, it's fine. You don't have to 100% pay attention to it. It's but and again, we've seen it before. I mean, there are some things where and this is what I don't understand. There's this shootout that's in a really expensive giant mansion, right? Like there's like this refrigeration room with like bottles of expensive wine and whatnot. And somehow he's being like, Liam Neeson is being hunted by these assassins. And if I was the guy that owned the house, I'd be like, hey, don't shoot my wine. So I'm looking at this going like, a lot of it doesn't make any sense. And then there are clever, almost Die Hard like ways that he takes out the guys that are hunting him, which I thought was really good. I mean, at least Liam Neeson like is in this movie. He's acting. He seems to care about this film and the other films. Conversely, Bruce Willis, who has been doing, and I know you can speak to this, Alan, because you've reviewed, Bruce Willis has been in these movies that are super low budget, where the person who is Bruce Willis's body double is on screen more than Bruce Willis, right? Like, one was Apex that came out. There's a whole bunch.
Deadlock or Lockdown?
Yeah, Deadlock, I think, is one, which I interviewed the director for that. Jared Cohn. That's actually one of the better ones, one of the higher rated ones on Rotten Tomatoes. But if you go to Red Letter Media, not like I'm recommending another channel, but I do recommend Red Letter Media because I watch it. Red Letter Media just recently did a great thing about all these Bruce Willis movies and why there is like this flood of them and how he just doesn't care. These movies are terrible. And it somehow like involves this producer that's being hunted by the Russian mafia. They're all like produced by this same guy. So,
see, I wonder if it's more magnanimous than that. Maybe he's trying to help indie filmmakers, maybe by lending his name. I mean, basically, there's Eric Roberts, there's Bruce Willis. Liam Neeson is dangerously going down that road too.
Well, but compared, so I just watched the Red Letter Media thing and all these cheap Bruce Willis movies. Then I watched Blacklight, and I'm like, oh wow, well Blacklight, and I've seen some of these Bruce Willis movies. They're weak, and they're weak from the standpoint of you can tell that he worked on the movie for 2 days.
Yeah. And that they're going to use his name to promote the film.
Right. They're going to use his name. Why am I'm kind of done with my review. Let's, I'm into equity.
Share the screen. Come on.
I'm into equity. We have to be the same size on the screen unless you're featured. But but these Bruce Willis movies are so cheap. Like they're so like, they showed in the Red Letter Media thing, they showed one shot where it's a guy and he's out of focus, but it's supposed to be Bruce Willis. And it does not look like Bruce Willis at all. It's just a random bald guy that's like, I guess, the body double. But you can tell in these movies, because I watched that Deadlock film, and it's like, he's in the movie. He could do all of this in 2 days. He literally was in 2 locations. for the entire film.
Yeah.
And that was it. So they shoot him out in 2 days, and I'm sure Bruce Willis gets $1 million.
Yeah.
And I did.
Well, go ahead.
So sorry, no, go ahead.
No, I was going to talk about Eric Roberts for a second, because we interviewed him and I asked him, why are you appearing in all these indie films? And he had a really interesting response.
What was it?
Yeah. So part of it was, helping filmmakers, but a lot of it depends on where the film is being shot, and this idea of, is he going to have fun doing it? And that was the thing, is if you can kind of sell him on, bring him to, give him a good experience, take him somewhere, give him some fun to do, then he will most likely do your movie.
Well, but comparing it to Liam Neeson seems to actually like put effort into the acting. Liam Neeson, there's actually some artistry to,
he's invested in it.
He's invested in the action sequence. Bruce Willis seems checked out. Literally, like, just film me walking, just film me. Oh my God. In one of these, it's a cheesy science fiction movie where Bruce Willis is being hunted, and they show him just eating berries, and these berries are like a form of LSD, and he gets high, and then that's it. That's the scene.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just bizarre. So if you're looking, like, there's this like Eric Roberts, Bruce Willis, Liam Neeson, these once were big stars, right? That were box office draw. So if you see it as like a video on demand film, you think like, oh wow, like this is in the theaters. This is a big actor of the past, but the movie itself is just, for the Bruce Willis ones but the Liam Neeson Blacklight, which which we're talking about right now, I thought was really well done. If you like that type of Bruce Willis movie, it's not like the first Taken, but it's in that realm, and it's worthwhile.
So let me ask you, is Blacklight good because of the story or because of the action?
The story I don't care about. I mean, the story but it's really because of the action. It's because of the action and Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
The story is like, we've seen this before. Oh, the bad guy is this evil guy in the government. Liam Neeson's kind of a tool. His family is in peril. Seen it, been there, done that. Also love it. It's sort of like, I love like In-N-Out cheeseburgers, and you know what you're getting when you're getting one. And I know it's not great for me, but I'm going to eat that cheeseburger. So
Absolutely.
This is the Blacklight is the In-N-Out cheeseburger of Liam Neeson movies. Yes, I think I know what I'm having for lunch today.
Now, have I told you my personal connection with Liam Neeson?
Yes, let's hear it. You have a personal connection?
We're going back to Darkman.
Oh, wow.
In Darkman, he probably wasn't even on set, but he's transformed himself into the Larry Drake character. Mm-hmm. He goes to a Chinese restaurant, sees himself. They do a chase in in kind of the revolving door there. That Chinese restaurant is my grandparents' restaurant.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Wow. Well,
that's my connection. We're bonded forever.
Darkman, an underrated Sam Raimi movie. But I like Liam Neeson from, I mean, he played Qui-Gon Jinn in Star Wars Episode 1. I would argue
best character of the prequels.
It's probably the best character of the prequels that, it would have been great if he turned up somehow in the later prequel films, or had maybe a better payoff to his character. The payoff to his character is he was completely wrong about training Anakin. But Liam Neeson just has a gravitas that is just palpable. And I just feel like Bruce Willis just doesn't care. Can I tell you a quick Bruce Willis story?
Sure.
Okay. I interviewed Bruce Willis for, I forget the movie. This is when I was at G4 TV, and they send me off to some junkets. And I've interviewed a bunch of celebrities in those junket situations. It's the only time I actually feel sorry for celebrities, because they're being bombarded with stupid questions from moron journalists.
And it's the same question too.
And it's the same questions every time. I'd always try to mix it up though. I'd always try to ask something a little clever. I'd sort of get what I need. And they sit you down and say, you have 4 minutes, go. And then like, by the time they're going, like, wrap it up. And then they're like, hard stop, like you're done, like done. So I've interviewed a ton of people. Like, I don't want to go through. I've interviewed like Robert Downey Jr., Keanu Reeves, like in those situations, and they're the nicest people. I find that like the people that are the sort of at the top, the bigger celebrities, tend to be the nicest. And then it's sort of your mid-level that tend to be a little bit hard to deal with. Anyways, So I've just had great experiences, interviewing them, and I always would try to be clever. And I think that the talent would appreciate that I was trying to be clever. So when I interviewed Bruce Willis, it was the one and only time where I walked in and there was tension in the room.
Oh,
like
geez.
you could feel it from the camera person to the sort of frightened publicist to everyone around walking on eggshells. And I sit down and I'm like, I ask an inconsequential question about this movie. And it's just a simple question. And he deflects from my question and says, I want to know what happened to all this money. And it was right when the financial crash had happened. He was like, I want to know what happened to our money. That's what I want to know. That's the answer. That's the question I'd like to have answered for me. What happened to all of our money? He was so indignant and angry. Clearly, Bruce Willis had lost a ton of money in the stock market.
Yeah.
Or like the value of his portfolio had dropped dramatically after that, as had everyone's at that time, or at least those of us fortunate enough to have a portfolio worth something. I'm not in that class, folks. I'm not, unfortunately. But yeah, so he was just angry, and it's he wasn't a dick to me personally. You could just tell he was pissed off, and he was just going to take it out on whoever was in. He didn't take it out on me, but he was like pissed off, and he does have kind of a reputation if you search around. So I mean, I don't care. I spent 5 minutes with the guy.
Did you get anything? Was anything shown on G4?
Yeah. I mean, they edited it. I even forget what the movie was. It's some cheesy sci-fi where you go in a person's body, and I don't know. I thought it was. I forget. It's a completely forgettable sci-fi movie from that era.
Wasn't Looper? Was it?
No, it wasn't Looper.
Okay.
Looper was decent. Looper was decent, but there you go. There it is. Blacklight, worth seeing if you're a Liam Neeson fan and you like that one movie he makes all the time.
There you go. A lot of chats actually from
real quick in the chat. We have Cody Gidley, my friend Cody Gidley, who says, I almost worked on one. I'm sure he's talking about the Bruce Willis movie. Yes, it only does 2 days. That's hilarious. Eric is awesome and generous. I actually did a web show with Eric Roberts back in the day when streaming shows. This is like, I don't know, I want to think like 2008 or something. Yeah. 2009. I did this streaming show with Eric Roberts.
Well, I interviewed him.
I'm not joking.
Yeah. I interviewed him the day. I'm sorry. I interviewed him the day before lockdown in Beverly Hills. Yeah. Oh. So there was a little tension going on, but we had a great conversation. Half of it I can't release at all because it'll get us canceled. Exactly. Yeah.
So, well, look for that interview. Look for that interview. Was it Sarahgate? No, that was not it, or something. No, but thank you, Ram Cross. I'll look that up and I'll find out before our stream ends here. But
the Witch Black Death.
No, that wasn't it. That wasn't it at all.
I know everyone's like, we got to know the name.
God, it was such a forgettable movie. And I remember when I saw it, I was just like, oh, well, I'll ask questions about the tech. When you're asking questions about that kind of stuff, you kind of know you're like, you're not super into it. Movies,